Hey everyone, welcome back to Our Minds Lifestyle. We focus on finances, relationships, and more. Hey everyone, welcome back to Our Minds Lifestyle. I'm your host, Kaidan Belay.
And I'm Ethan Belay.
And today we're letting you guys get to know us. So, to start off, we've been together for 9 years. We will be 10 years in 2023. And we met at 19. And we are, fast forward 9 years later, we are here. We are creating businesses together. So we spend a lot of time together. So with us spending so much time together, how come you're not tired of me yet? Serious question.
Serious question. You want the truth?
Be honest.
All right. So, I like the fact like our relationship is natural. So, when we first started talking, we were always just like best friends. So, you fast forward, 9 years, we just have a friendship. So, I think the hardest part is mainly like being able to mentally transition from like work and everyday life to like intimate time. Is like
Is that hard for you?
not at all.
See, so you're talking about for me.
Yeah. So I'm getting used to that, but it's a vibe. What about you?
Okay. So for me, what was my question?
Well, you were saying like pretty much why I haven't like
Oh, why haven't?
you gotten tired.
Because there's a few topics you brought up that my mind automatically wanted to respond to those. Okay, so why I haven't gotten tired of you? That's honestly a great question that, to be honest, I'm not sure exactly if I could sum it up, but I would say the qualities that I love about you, even in the beginning of our relationship, I think I've told you this before, where you were the first person that I could spend a lot of time around and not get tired of. Because even one of my friends I was talking to, I was like, yeah, this is the first guy I was talking to, and you just didn't irritate me. There's certain people, even some of my friends to this day, I couldn't be in a relationship with because I love them, we get along great, but they know and I know that we wouldn't be great when it comes to compatibility as far as being in a partnership.
Yeah.
But with you, I've never had that problem. Ever since we were friends and then transitioned into girlfriend and boyfriend, transitioned into being your fiance, to transition into being your wife, the whole transition, I had no problem with spending time with you. So even during the pandemic, we already spent time with each other. There's a lot of people that their relationship just wasn't working throughout that time. But we continue to do what we normally do. So I don't really have like an answer of why. I just think overall you're just a great person, and I think when you have two individuals that just get each other, it helps.
Yeah.
Because outside of me finding you attractive, if I found you attractive, but then your personality didn't match your attractionness, I felt like we wouldn't have worked.
Right.
But
Yeah.
for us, like, we do a lot together, and the reason I want to continue to do things together is, one, you're my best friend first. I have this saying where we are friends first, relationship second. And also, we don't have kids yet, but when we decide to start wanting to go through the process of the idea of having kids, we talk about it a lot. We talk about our parenting and what it would be like, but when we're actually ready to, like, no, like, we are going to start having kids. So
Are
for
you
y'all,
ready for kids?
I am not ready for kids right
Yeah.
now. I'm not. Are you?
I don't think I am either. Like,
And I know there's people saying, you guys are never going to be ready.
Yeah, I would love to have kids one day. I don't know if I want that time to be now. Like, I know I'm not gonna live forever, but I don't know. I feel like I don't know why I just have this feeling like I haven't like lived life yet, and it's like I hate to say like I haven't accomplished the goals that I want to achieve. It's like I'm not.
I feel
saying
like right now we're both at the place where we are putting ourselves first. And the best way I can piggyback off of what you just said, If I decide I don't want to cook right now, because I do most of the cooking in our household, and every now and then you'll cook as well. But if I decide not to, just like I just said, if I decide not to, you can still cook. If we have kids, I feel like there's a level of dependency that they need from us, and right now I'm not ready to provide that. I'm ready to be committed into a relationship with you where I'm faithful to you, I'm loyal to you. Those characteristics I have, they're in me. But to be a mom and to be there to be able to provide for this child, because if I don't provide for this child, they can't move forward. I'm not ready for that responsibility. And with you and us being in a relationship, there's still responsibility that we both owe each other, but our life can still go on if I decide not to cook for you, if I decide I just want to lay in bed today, or I decide I don't want to do something, you may be affected in some way, but you're not going to be like, you can still carry on. You might be able to pick up the slack. A newborn baby can't do that.
Yeah, I think the best way that I can put it is like I know how big of a responsibility it is, and I'm not ready to. I'm not ready to say like I want to assume this responsibility.
Yes.
But if the responsibility was bestowed upon me, then I'm ready for it. Like I'm not gonna be
But
like, oh well, it was nice knowing you.
right, and I feel like to even say that. So, for example, in our relationship, because we are honestly being very transparent and straightforward with you.
You don't have to say that. Just shoot straight with him.
Well, I am, but I'm just with the part I'm gonna say now. So, like, we pull out, like
Yeah.
our relation in our sex life. Like, rarely do we use condoms, but we pull out, and that pull out method has been working for us. In 9 years, I think we only had 2 times where we were like thought we were probably pregnant, but that was also just because of
That was
how.
years ago though.
Yeah, that was also us just being irresponsible at that time.
Yeah.
But once we had those couple scares, we were like, you know what? Like, I think that's a sign that we were not pregnant to this day. And I was like, you know what? Let's not be so irresponsible when it comes to sex. Like, we can still have lots of sex, but let's still be responsible with it. Um, so saying that, like, we don't have kids for a reason. And once we decide, like, okay, I'm ready, you're ready, then maybe we'll get rid of the pull-out method. And at that point, like, all right, like if it happens, I'm not gonna be that type of person. I'm ovulating. Let's go have sex right now. Like, I do want to give myself a healthy time frame. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to like, oh, let's start pulling out when I'm 40. You know what I mean? Like, I would like to probably have a kid before I'm 40. But then again, if I don't and I have one after 40, there's no rush. Or if I never have kids in my lifetime,
40 years
I'm
old,
okay.
I'm probably not gonna.
So
go
you're
for
saying
that.
if you don't have a kid by 40, you don't want one?
I
Is
mean,
that what you're saying?
it's not what I'm saying.
What you saying then?
I mean, I just feel like I wouldn't want my wife to be 40 and have a kid with her. Nothing against women that have had children at 40 or older, but it's just my preference. Just because, I mean, your body goes through a lot. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, 40, like, for me, me personally, I would feel uncomfortable at, like, being like,
But why?
I don't know.
It's not even your body. So if I'm healthy and because there's still women that have kids in their 40s.
True.
So if you're scared because of complications that you've been told the older you get, because I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it would be based off of that. Yeah.
There's times where
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh, like I heard of these geriatric years, and that used to kind of scare me. But I'm
Right.
like, you know what? Like, if it's meant for me to have one, I'm gonna have one, and I believe that I'm just gonna have a successful birth. I'm gonna go in it with that mindset and just believe that that's what I'm gonna have.
Yeah.
Because there was times I would be scared too, but I try not to put fear in my heart at that
Right,
point.
yeah.
Because maybe we have our first kid at 33, 35, who knows? But then we have a second one at 40. Then what?
I'm like, in my mind, I'm also thinking, like, if I'm 40, am I going to even still have the energy to want to, like, raise my kid, like, at a young age?
Yes.
I mean, yeah, when I said it sounded better in my head asking that question, but, like,
I'm glad
no,
you said it
yeah.
out loud because then you
Because
answered your own
honestly,
question.
yeah, like, I'll be that, like, for my kids, I would be the type, because I'm family oriented. So, like, me as a father, I'm going to be that father that's like, all right, well, like, we're going to go on a hiking trip today, or, like, we're going to do a camping trip, or we're going to go to a park one day and just, like, throw the football around as a family. Like, being a more active and involved father.
And as long as you start that process now while we're in our 20s, there should we like you there's people in their 50s and 60s, we see it now because of social media, that if you take care of your body you can last long. I mean, it's just like a vehicle, you
Very
know.
much so.
You take care of your car, it will last
Oh, it's
long.
like a vehicle?
I don't know much about
I heard that
vehicles,
somewhere.
but I did too. That's why I repeat it
Okay.
from somewhere. But it makes sense. Like I heard someone even talking about like how you do oil changes on your body. I mean, on your on your car, you should do oil changes on your body. So that's why me and you, we detox. There's times where we go a few days or for a few weeks without sex by choice. You know what I mean? There's certain times where we don't go by choice, you know, and that's even a hardship that we dealt with in our relationship that we'll get into later down the road when we want to talk about it. Because relationships are not easy. For us to be together 9 years, I don't have like a secret sauce of how we were able to make it. We started dating at 19. We're still strong. We waited 5 years before we got married. We were engaged for 5 years before we decided to pull the strings, because our views on marriage is different. And if you have more questions about that, we did another video on our marriage views. But yeah, so like that's a little bit about us. And I guess to sum it up, you know, I think you're just a wonderful person, and I really love your mindset. I love your heart. I love how loyal you are to me, to other people. And I think because of all your characteristics, it just makes up a great individual that matches me.
Yeah.
And my characteristics makes up a great individual that matches me. And for everyone out there looking for their spouse, you just I feel like you can't look for it. We weren't looking when we found each other. We just
Yeah, I
happened
definitely
to
wasn't looking.
yeah, we happened to just be at the right place at the right time. And that's what
Yeah.
I feel like that's you'll know when you're just at that right place at that right time.
Yeah, and I had just got my heartbreak too. So I definitely was. I was at that phase where
Your whole face.
I ain't even gonna call it that, cause like I still didn't like date just every girl I could come in contact with, but um, I did start picking up on the dating though, like just having a lot of women
Do you
friends,
feel like you started picking up on your red flags sooner than later?
picking up on my red flags. What do
Like
you mean
red
by that?
flags of like the people you were dating. So like when you start
Oh, I
experiencing
got full blown cheated on.
that's what I'm saying.
Like,
Well, you being cheated on. So like looking back, was there red flags that you could have walked out before it got to that
yeah,
point, or you could have protected your sanity
yeah,
before it got to that point?
yeah. Cause like I'm not, probably not so much now, but I used to be a very forgiving person. I forgave her a lot for a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff wasn't as big as that, but just like when it got to that point, I was just like, all right, I'm over it now.
I have a
So
question for you. If I was to ever cheat on you, would you forgive me?
I don't know. It depends on the circumstances.
Depends on how I cheated.
It just depends on the circumstances. Cause everybody will say what they would do.
Right.
Like, um, I think you would deal with a different side of me though. I wouldn't be as invested in a relationship
And at
anymore.
that point, I feel like once you start cheating and you break that trust, I feel like I don't. I mean, there have been some relationships that were able to rebuild and come back together, but to be honest, I want to talk to some people who have cheated and have been able to come back into their relationships.
Yeah.
Because for me, I feel you. I honestly, if you cheat on me, it would be the exact same way. Like I can't say if I would or wouldn't forgive you. I don't know. Because I'm like, okay, if you cheated once, it's always gonna be in my mind that you're always cheating. That's extra negativity and just extra negative thoughts in my head that I just don't need. I don't know if I would forgive you, but then again, I don't know if I wouldn't. That
Yeah.
is kind of hard. I feel like we haven't experienced that, so I would want to talk to some people who have experienced cheating. Now, me and you have experienced, and see, that's a great question because I don't necessarily look at some of the stuff that we experience as cheating. I know that in our lifetime we experienced boundaries being crossed, and that you're in the relationships, you're always going to experience boundaries being crossed. I think at that point it just depends on when somebody goes too far as crossing a boundary.
I don't think it's a regular thing for boundaries to get crossed,
No, not a regular
but in
thing.
a relationship, at some point, your boundaries will be crossed.
They'll be tested.
It's about how you communicate them and then communicate those boundaries, and then also how the person like understands your boundary and your communication of that boundary and how they react to that communication. So it's like a healthy reaction or a healthy like it's weird because there's an action that causes a reaction. Depending on that reaction, will tell you if the relationship is solid. And what I mean by that, like there was an action where like let's say like you would find like maybe like a girl's number on my phone or something, and then after that you react. Now your way may be like getting me back or communicating and talking like, yo, this makes me feel uncomfortable, like you know what I'm saying. And then let's say you communicate that, which is your reaction. How I react to it off of the healthy communication is gonna be like will determine if I'm invested. Because then my action, like what I've learned is I don't listen to what anybody says anymore. I go strictly off of what they do, and I've learned that for men and women. Because human beings will literally say one thing and like know they're gonna do something and do the complete opposite, or they call you for advice, you give them the advice, they do the complete opposite. Like I've learned to just watch people's actions. So like based off of the reaction that I give you based off of your communication of the situation, is gonna be like, all right, well, now I don't ever really have to worry about that because his action shows it. And so that's honestly, and I used to talk a lot, and I'm finding myself having less and less to say because I feel like my actions will speak louder than my words. And I would still like to communicate, but lately I've been focusing on like instead of talking about how honorable I am and shit like that, just be that way.
So, what's one story you could share within our 9 years of a time where you you learned something from a situation that I've caused about yourself? So, like
Like
for example, like say I did something and it caused tension, or you got mad at me, but it was a lesson that you learned about yourself. Can you think of any times like that?
no,
No.
because if you did something foul, I can't take a lesson from that.
Sometimes like a lesson in your reaction, like a lesson of like, you know what, like I
Oh
used to
yeah,
react this way, but I no longer
yeah.
react this way.
I would say like tonality and body language is everything. So sometimes, like with you being more of a feminine being, your fluctuation of tone tends to change with your mood, or if like something is happening, or like something scares you, your tone is more likely to fluctuate more. So like I've learned to like for me to not be so reactive to that. Um, maybe just because I was brought up, I was used to that, where fluctuation was definitely an all-time high. So like, um, learning just how not to be so sensitive to that, and then understand like, you know what I'm saying, how important my tone is. So like so what I'm saying is like maybe it was a time where like you flipped off the handle about something, and like I wasn't so like before I would match that energy with you and be like screaming and yelling and shit, and it's like, well, one, that's not helping anything, and then two, like bro, like it's I'm an adult, like what am I doing screaming at this woman for, like, or even screaming back at this woman, even if she's screaming first, like, all right, we'll figure it out, but we're not gonna do all that, like. So I don't know, that's one thing that I've learned. It's just learning how to be like less reactive to people's actions.
Okay. I like that. And honestly, mine is kind of similar to yours as well. One thing I've learned is that I can't assume what's going on in your head, and
Right.
I don't know, because I don't know what's going on in your head. There's times where I would assume something. So
And see, that's why
there's been
I
so
told you
many
that before,
times,
yeah.
yeah, in our relationship where I'm like, okay, like I have this feeling in my gut, and it's not always what I think it is. And I'm up here like either I have went through your phone before, like in the beginning of our years. I haven't done anything like that recently because our trust is the longer you're with somebody, the more your trust is just going to become stronger. And there's one thing that you said now that you learned, before I get back into my story, that you look at our relationship now, that if you had a female best friend or a sister, you look at like if they were to come to you about a dude that hurt them, how you would feel, how you want to react, and like you don't like seeing them hurt. So because I'm your wife, girlfriend, fiance, whatever I am at that time, you shouldn't want to see me hurt. So why are you causing the hurt? And that's one thing that a lot of people, that's just one thing I've never understood, and that's one thing that I'm trying to make sure that I fixed in our relationship is that I don't want to cause hurt to you. You're the person that when it comes down to it, you're always there when I need you. You know what I mean? You're the one that's there when I'm crying, when I'm at my lowest, no matter what type of day I'm having. If it's something where I'm just not up to par, you're the one that kind of gets the back end of it because we live in this house together, and you're always there. And it's like the ones that's always there are always the ones that get the backlash, and I just don't appreciate that when it happens to me. So I don't want to be the one that it happens to.
But see, and I will say this, like, you are a different type of woman. Like, I've never met a woman like you, right?
I know.
But like, and I'm not saying this to flatter you. Like, I'm saying based off of like your level of accountability and a level of self-awareness. Like, you know what I'm saying? Even in other situations where I've seen with you and other people, like, for the most part, I can honestly say, like, typically when you get into it with somebody, I know you're not the one that started it. You might not have done everything perfect, but it's like, nah, Vic don't start nothing with nobody. But also, your level of self-awareness as far as like offending people, or like just not even offending people, but being confrontational. Um, Now, if you have, I've seen you stand your ground and be like, no, like that ain't cool. Like, I'm not feeling that. But what I'm saying is, like, for example, things like this where you was like, you said this when we first started talking, like we weren't even together yet, but you was like, well, I would never put my hands on you because you a human being, so I put my hands on you. Like, I can't be mad that you put your hands on me back. And if you so
Or
happen to
the
be
way I
stronger,
decide to put it. Like if I
yeah,
slap you, you decide to punch me back.
yeah,
I made a conscious decision to slap you. You made a conscious decision to react how you feel like you
yeah,
want to. So that whole like slap for slap, punch for punch, that doesn't exist. So
right.
that's why
So
I decide not to put my hands on you, because if you
right,
decide to
right.
punch me or to keep going, just because I slap you once, you punch me twice, like it sounds petty, but when it comes down to it, if you decide to do that,
I
I
feel
already
you.
opened the can of worms where you can kind of do
Yeah,
what you
like,
please, and that's one thing where like all this domestic violence that's going on, like
hold
really,
on, we'll
like
get to that. I
all
wasn't
right,
done.
all right, I
All
get
right. So
excited.
look. So what I was saying is, like, where I grew up,
Yeah.
I'm used to seeing like girls ready to fight dudes in the middle of the street. Like, I'm used to growing up around that. So like, for you, like, as being like maybe 19, to be like, we're having deep conversation and we talk about, and when I ask questions, like, I'm paying attention. So like, I'm paying attention to what you said, also your actions. So like, um, I think I might have asked you like how you feel about like domestic abuse in a relationship or something like that, and you was like, well, pretty much I don't hit you, don't hit me, like, and I was like, I was like, that's real, cause I don't plan on hitting you, and I don't want to be hit either, type thing. So I don't know, I just feel like something like that is something where I was like, that's like self
So
awareness.
yeah, self
It's like
control.
self control, yeah, and accountability, because the thing is like, I think the big thing about a relationship that I've learned a lot of is like being accountable, but also holding the other person accountable as well.
And you know what? Looking back, I feel like, well, honestly, I got to give my dad props on that, because there's so many times growing up when I was a child that I would act out or I would do something I'm not supposed to, and I would get in trouble, obviously. And then me and my dad will sit down and have conversations, almost like how me and you were just talking now. And he used to use this term where clean slate. Like I don't know how many clean slates in my childhood that me and my dad that my dad gave me,
Yeah.
but we tried to clean my slate a few times, and it got to the point where we would keep finding ourselves going back to these conversations. And I think the older I got, looking back to getting a clean slate, I wanted to do things different. So like with our relationship, if I transfer that into our relationship, I don't want to have to go through so many clean slates. I don't want you to have to cheat on me and we have to wipe a slate and try again. I don't
Right.
want to have to
Yeah.
like me, because we have had fights, and a lot of times when we have those fights, it's with alcohol. Like we
Yeah.
rarely had fights being sober because we're like in our right mind. Like we know we hold ourselves very accountable. But when you have liquor in you, it's just, and depending on how
I
much.
will say, out of the 10 years that we've been together, I think that me and you have gotten in like a physical altercation maybe like 3 or 4 times.
I will say in the first 5 years we probably had one once a year.
Yeah.
if I want to count. But it wasn't some. I would say it didn't get that bad. There was one time that it did get kind of bad, but not to the point where I'm like beat up. Like I've never been beat up. You never been beat up.
I have.
Like you have had a swollen lip before. I had a black eye before.
Nah.
Like it did get to that point
Remember I
at
had
one
that
point.
big scratch on my face? Your mom was mad.
Okay, you might have a big
Yo-
scratch. So like
Your
we
mom was
had,
like,
like don't get
bruh,
us wrong. Like our relationship
my
is not
daughter did
perfect.
that.
Our relationship is not perfect,
Yeah.
and there's definitely things that
We're
we've
human.
done.
We had to learn.
And what I would say is that that's why there's even times where I'm like, you know what, maybe I need to stop drinking because when I would drink,
Yeah.
I literally and I lose all self control when I drink, and to the point where if I'm upset about something, I react versus like if I was sober, I wouldn't have done that. So a lot of times that I did put my hands on you, I did go against how I felt and my beliefs and my characteristics. I was drinking, and looking back, that's like now it's like now if I am drinking, there's not like the most recent story I can tell you is there's one night we both were drinking, and I made a conscious decision. I think we were mad. So like we were supposed to come home. Like we just left the bar or something. We were supposed to come home and like cuddle, like have like sexy time, like just vibe out as a couple. Something happened. We started arguing. I think the argument may have started in the car. We got upstairs, and you pretty much went upstairs, and you weren't really like talking to me. Like you just went upstairs. I literally stood by the door before coming in and even taking off my shoes, my jacket. I just stood by the door, and I was like, just, honestly, I'm borderline was talking to myself because it sounds a little crazy, but I was actually talking to myself because I anytime you make a decision, a lot of times you probably know what decision you're gonna make. There are some people that just are very sporadic and they'll just like black out. But there are times where I actually, in a lot of my arguments, there's times where I try to control myself, and sometimes I'm not able to control myself, and I'll react. But that was a time when I was standing by the door where I was able to control myself because I was thinking like I can go upstairs and do two things. I can go upstairs and keep the fire going, or I can go upstairs, go to bed, de-escalate the fire, just like you would do in a business. I would literally go up there and de-escalate everything, and and end up having a good night. Because at the end of the day, I know you don't want to argue with me. I hate when we argue in general because if we have goals to do something one day, that doesn't get done. It honestly just puts us further back. And I have this saying, if we aren't breaking up and it's not something that we're going to break up over, it's really not that big. Why are we holding on to it? We do have to learn how to move
Yeah.
and let stuff go. And us as people, we don't know how to let things go as easily when it's a relationship, when it's a friendship, when it's business, when it's whatever. Family drama. We just got to learn to let things go. And that's that one night where I went upstairs. I changed out of my clothes. I laid down, and then I was acting as if I was going to go to sleep. And I kind of like you. I think you was on social media or something, and you were just like just doing what you normally do to like wind down. And I let you have time to yourself, and that's really really big in a relationship. Like you have to let somebody have time to their self because I can't expect you to be over something when you are over it or when I'm over it. So I let you have time to yourself, and then at that point, I think I like moved closer to you, or I did something, but I wasn't being like clingy. Cause like if you're mad at me, you obviously don't want me in your face. There's been times where I would try to like come like do like come here baby, like try to be like soft and you know like try to like turn you on or something. But if you're mad at me, it doesn't work. It does not work at all. So I have to, and I think it's because I was throwing myself on you. But if I ease my way onto you when you're mad at me, it works better. So I literally like kind of scooted over a little bit.
It's giving
and then,
toxic.
Is it giving toxic? But honestly, like what I'm learning, I feel like what would have gave toxic or would have been giving toxic if I would have went upstairs and kept the fire going.
Yeah.
What I made a conscious decision to do at the door is to go upstairs and de-escalate the fire. I know we were arguing. I know we're not about to break up. I don't want to go to bed mad at you. I still want to have sex at the end of the night. You know what I mean? Or cuddle. I want to do something intimate before we go to bed. So for me to be able to make sure that that happened, I had to de-escalate the fire. And one of us has to be strong enough to de-escalate. If we're both de-escalating it, that's a perfect relationship. It's not a perfect relationship. So I have to make the conscious decision or you have to.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
I know I said a lot. That was like a,
Yeah, that was a.
it was a lot.
It was
But
like-
I got it all out. And did you understand what I was saying?
Mm-hmm.
All right, but yeah, so that's just one lesson that, and we're not here to give advice. I would say I don't like giving advice. I'm just telling you how we get through
At least you can learn from
our
mistakes.
relationship.
Yeah.
Because if you are dealing with something where your spouse doesn't listen to you or you find yourself arguing, honestly, sit back and analyze the argument. And another thing, like I have to, if I think we even talked about this before, so I won't elaborate on it for too long. But if there's something that's bothering you, I'm not the person to say, oh, that doesn't matter, or just to sweep it under the rug. If it's bothering you for a reason, I need to listen and see why it's bothering you, and then figure out how I can make it better, or how I can stop doing something, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if we're building a relationship to be together, we have big goals. There's so many to obtain these big goals that we have. We don't have time for petty arguments.
Yeah.
That is not getting us to from A to B, and it's definitely not going to get us all the way to Z where we're trying to go.
Also,
So
too, like, I will tell you this because I know we talked about the whole physical thing. Like, I'm, that's one thing that I'm like, that's against my morals as far as like beating on a female. Like, that's not my thing. So it's like, even when that happened, I think we had a talk after that, and I just told you, I was like, look, we gotta figure this out because if we gonna get physical like that again, then we need to go ahead and
we
split
got
it
to
off.
split ways.
Cause then it's like, it's just ugly. It's like, you know what I'm saying?
Can you imagine our
It's,
relationship if we did
yeah,
not have that conversation with each other and we were still in here fighting?
I know. That's wild. I don't know. I just for me, I've seen other couples fight. Like I've been at other
Oh
people's
my
houses, and then
gosh.
I've seen where like other couples literally be
Yeah,
like
one of our
fist fighting
friends
in
literally
front of
like
me.
just punched his girl while we was in the car, and then it's like what did we do? I think you didn't like we didn't sit there and just let it
You
happen,
wasn't
but we
there.
didn't get in it. Oh, I wasn't in the car. You
I
told me
was
about
in
the
the
story,
car. Yeah,
right?
we was on the way to you,
And see,
and yeah, and that for
no,
me
no,
that's
no,
wild
no.
because it's
Before
like
that, me and you actually, we and you were arguing. So you rode home with them,
yeah,
and I drove the other people that, because we were like, we had two cars, and I think we had carpool, so we had some friends in my car and friends in the other car. I got mad at Ethan, so I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna take the car. I'm going home. The two people that rode with me, I dropped them off, and then Ethan rode with the other couple, and then that's when you witnessed them like
yeah.
fighting in the car.
Another thing too, like that's why communi- arguments are healthy to an extent. Um, you know, it is healthy to argue sometime and have disagreements, as long as those arguments have resolutions and conclusions to them.
Cheers to that.
But another thing too with being friends with other couples, man, make sure your relationship is solid before you do, because one thing I will say is that a
I don't even
couple
think we
that
really double
argue,
date too
come
much
here,
anymore.
right? So like a couple, in which yeah we do. We just hung
As
out
much
with
as well,
yeah.
certain
We just hung
couples,
out
but we
with
are
Megan
very
and Greg. They're
picky.
cool.
We don't just like before we would double date like quick, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. Like now, like we really vet the people
Yeah.
we
Hold on.
double
Let me get
date
to my
with.
point. So like my advice is as a relationship is like make sure your relationship is good. Y'all ain't got no arguments and none of that because the energy it kind of goes back into the story and which I'll segue back into that. But like how me and you were arguing and then they ended up arguing and fighting. Like couples avoid that type. Like healthy couples tend to avoid like
That energy.
couples that be arguing all the time and you never know when they gonna be at each other's neck. Like healthy couples will avoid that because that energy transfers. And it's been a few times where we done been out and
We're
not
having
even
a great
us.
day.
Yeah, not even us. We having a great day. Sex was great in the morning, like, you know what I'm saying, with some eggs and like, you know, some breakfast, coffee,
Breakfast sounds
some
so
cinnamon toast, you know, y'all go for a walk or something. Y'all had just a good day. Like, and then literally we not even mad at each other, but we arguing with each other.
after we
After another couple's
after we
arguing,
hang out with
yeah.
another couple, because their energy is so big. So like when you choose your friends, when you choose the couples you want to double date with, please make sure that those are vibes and couples that you actually you like something about the relationship and you or and vice versa. Because if they're toxic, honestly, don't double date. Do not bring that around because
15 minutes.
that energy is big.
Exactly. And like, so to segue back into that, um, my friends at the time, me and her got in an argument. My friends were gonna drop me off. They gets to arguing in a car, and they gets to fighting. Like when I tell you they was fighting, like they was punching each other, like, like it was crazy. Like you know
What
what I'm
did you
saying?
do?
I just sat in the back. Like I was in the back seat, so I just sat in the back seat. Like what am I gonna do? Like That's why it put me in a weird spot, because it was like, if it was any other guy, you would want me to intervene. But that's also my homie. Like, I ain't getting in the
I
middle
feel
of that.
that. And to be honest, we
And
have
she
been
my
in,
homie too. So like, I'm not. That's y'all relationship. I can't get in the middle of that. I'm
and
gonna
we've
just.
been in situations where, and to be honest, like, and for people, like, for anyone that feels like, oh, you should have done something,
Nope.
if it gets to the point where it gets really
Man.
bad, I mean, at some point, maybe, but then to be honest, when it comes to couples, we have been in a time where we did intervene, and whoever was getting beat up or whoever was the wrong one in the situation, or the victim, I guess you would call it, in the situation, they turned on us. They literally turned on us to the point where they're trying to fight us now, and all we were doing was trying to help them,
Oh, you
break
talking about
them
that
up.
one guy?
Yeah, we was trying to break them
Man, that
up,
nigga was about to get put
so
to
so
sleep.
they didn't get hurt. Then the other person's gonna try to turn on us.
Yeah.
So I learned my lesson. Like, at the end of the day, if
Buddy
we
was
weren't in the
wildin'.
room, they obviously clearly this is what they do in their relationship. So that was just a red flag for me to abort mission, and I don't want no parts of it.
Yeah, I feel you. Because at
But
that point and I think the biggest thing too, like, honestly, man, with a relationship, it's tricky, because you're still dealing with two human beings. And so, like, everybody has flaws. Like, this whole thing where, like, I don't know, like, for me, I'm big on, like, red flags and toxic traits. I'm not on that. And I think that my relationship set the standards for the relationships that I want to have out in public. So I think the biggest thing is, like, man, if it's toxic, you gotta leave. If it's toxic, and if it's toxic or not. Like, if you keep ending up with the same situation, and the person keeps apologizing, the same things keeps happening, you're gonna be dealing with that until you die,
for
bro.
long term, and then you
Yeah.
have to really ask yourself, is this really worth it? Because some people like toxic, some people feed it, some people need it, some people are attracted to it.
Yeah, I mean, and I understand that there still has to be a thrill. That's why arguments can be healthy, to an extent. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because then when we argue, we're gonna be mad at each other. But then, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but then I'm a human being. I still get horny. So it's like, well, you might be walking through the house naked or something, or you might, like, bend over or something, do something like you just in your vibe. I'm like, dang. Or then, like, you know what I'm saying? I might be, like, doing some push-ups in the living room or something like that. Or I might just clean up the kitchen on some, like, I ain't got nothing else to do. And then you're like, dang. So then you start you start missing the intimacy. Because, like, you're not really talking to the person, especially because I know you the silent
See,
treatment
we
type.
have, we are, and I'm glad you brought that up with that. So, like, we have this 24 hours. So if we are going through an argument or phase, we cannot go 24 hours without talking to each other. Seriously, we are not
It was
going
the
24
way you
hours.
looked at me and said it, though. Like,
Because we are not doing
like
it.
was that like a compromise or a demand? I felt like it was a demand.
Both.
It's
Both.
like,
But
we
no,
are
all
not
jokes
going
aside,
24
like,
hours without
24
talking to
hours.
each
We're
other.
not doing it. Like, our whole thing, I don't want to go to bed mad at you. Like, for real, like, I don't. And it's not worth it because what I don't want is it to go into another 24 hours. At that point, we're just wasting so much time. And I'm like, they already say life is so short. So if life is so short,
Yeah, I'm
why
not
do you
doing
want to waste
breaks.
so much time?
I ain't doing breaks. I'm good on a break. I'm not taking a break.
That's what I'm saying. I don't.
Like,
That's
if
just
we,
our
yeah,
opinion. I'm not
if
doing
we
no
taking a break,
breaks.
bro, we done.
We're done. Yeah.
Like,
But if we gonna work it out
like,
and
what we
see
gotta
what we want.
take a break from? Like, if you need to be mad for right now, I'll give you a
I mean,
space. But
space.
yeah,
I'll give you space.
That's
That's why I
normal.
said 24 hours.
But a break
Space.
though, like, for me, a break
I
is just
I
like,
need time to figure out my thoughts. No, you got 24 hours to figure out your
man, a
thoughts.
break. I'm telling you what's gonna happen. It's just a break is a period of time. It's like a single free trial. Like, literally, you just want to be like, all right, can I deal with this person
Because to
or
be honest,
not?
in our relationship, if it was to get to a time where we both was like, I need a break, I think at that point, we are already saying that we're ready to end our relationship. I don't think we need a break where I'm going to go stay with my mom for a month or you go do that. Like, if there's something where you just need some space, I feel like a healthy relationship, you give yourself 24 hours to have some space. This is just my opinion.
like,
I don't think you
yeah.
need more than 24 hours because unless you plan on leaving me. If you plan on leaving me, then
Yeah.
do that. But if it's something where you got to think that long and hard about it, you should already just go.
Yeah.
Just
And
go.
sometimes, like, in general, your life will automatically provide space for you. Because it's been times where you visited your family in
But I never
Maryland.
left because I needed a break.
Yeah, right,
That's what I'm
exactly.
getting to.
But you got a space, though. Like, you went on a
Space.
trip, like,
But were we mad at each other before I
no,
left? That's what I'm getting at.
exactly,
Like we
right.
can do that, but I'm
Yeah.
talking about breaks.
But
Like
if it's something you have to take a break
I gotta
from,
I gotta take a 6 month
if
break,
you got to take,
a 30-minute
yeah,
break.
man, 6
I mean,
months,
a 2 month break.
6 months. You know, honestly, if
24 hours. You get a 24-hour break.
if you're taking a 6 month break, you have a side piece, male or female. Y'all smashing
Choose
other
them.
people by that time.
Choose them.
Women, it's area because sometimes women be going on this whole thing like, oh, I ain't did it in like 2 years, but like realistically speaking, I feel like
There's some people that haven't.
if
done
she's
it in 2 years.
active or she's had her eye on a guy or like you know what I'm saying, typically she's gonna be like, well, we on a break, ain't a nigga gonna do the same thing. So it's like a break for me is just
At
like
that point, y'all in a whole open relationship.
it's
Y'all
a
just
single
need to
free
call
trial,
it what y'all want. Call
and
it
then
what
when
you
y'all
want.
start missing each other or y'all getting that, oh, I miss what we had type thing, then y'all gonna be like, all right, boom. But if you liking a
We not
single
on a
life,
break no more.
but if you exactly, we not on a
So
break.
now
no
y'all
more.
in a closed relationship. Y'all was open, now y'all closed again. That's
Yeah.
bring it to terms in real life these days where we are. That's what that
And
is.
then if
So-
y'all liking a single life better than the relationship, y'all gonna stick like, no, I don't want to get back together.
Shake on 24 hours space, and that's all we need.
We ain't gotta
Yeah, shake
make it
on
a
it.
thing. Let's
Shake
just feel
on
the
it.
vibe. I'm just
Shake
going with
on
the
it.
flow. I'll shake your hand. I ain't gonna
Shake
leave you
on it.
hanging.
Yeah, there you
But
go.
we'll just go with the vibe.
Well, the vibe is no more than 24 hours of space.
No.
But anyway,
No, no,
I hope you guys enjoy this episode. To end the episode, I want to know, based off of our lifestyle, what is the best part of being in a relationship for you?
For me, when it's healthy, it's healthy. Like you know, it's like something. I don't know.
Do you benefit from being in a relationship at all?
No.
No? Okay. All right.
Was he not expecting
Okay.
the answer?
I
I feel like he
wasn't.
wasn't expecting that answer.
I was not.
No, honestly, a
Cause you
relationship.
want me to answer mine first?
I was going. No,
Oh, do
you asked me.
Do you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm about
Go
to
ahead
get to
then.
it. So, yeah, I feel like having a relationship adds tremendous value to my life, as it should.
Just tell me one.
It's healthy.
Just tell me one thing.
Like you inspire me for my goals. You know what I mean? Like you willing to try new things.
No, you're giving me three.
You're not cool with just like settling for you actually want like a great life, and I do too. So it's like if I'm putting extra work on a goal or a business venture, like you support me in that. So and you contributed to it. You contribute to it. So it's like that I feel like the intimacy. I love the intimacy. I like cuddling at night. I feel like the most underrated thing that people I've never mentioned during cuddle sessions, that's like kind of like one of the best parts is like when people rub feet together while they cuddling. You never hear people talk about that.
Let's
but
talk about it.
It feels great though. So it's like I don't know. Like going to bed at night is probably like a big part where I'm like I kind of see
You decide to stay
how
another
people
night.
that don't have that would be wanting that and missing that. Because I'm like, damn, like it is nice. Even if it's been a hard day, it's just like, all right, well.
I get with that. And honestly, I agree with all that. That's kind of like for me too. And honestly, I think what I like is just having, because I married my best friend, I like the fact that I get to wake up and every day we get to do life together. If I'm feeling down, I don't have to be down by myself. If I'm struggling in some way, I don't have to struggle by myself. Like if I need someone to help push me, I have a at-home accountability partner, and I think that's amazing. So I just want to say I appreciate you, and I'm excited to do life with you, and I really do love you.
I love you too, bro. Getting all emotional.
All right,
I will say this. Are you about to cry?
I was about to close the show out.
You about to cry.
I'm not crying.
Your eyes
It's
are
all
watering.
character, guys.
Your eyes are watering. But no,
It's a nice moment for me.
That's good. It's a nice moment for me too. I also wanted to tell you that I'm grateful that you love me.
Until next time. Go
I
ahead,
know.
go ahead.
But I am grateful that you love me, though. Like, I will say that's one thing that I'm grateful for. And this is a podcast topic for another time. But I like the fact that we work for each other. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we both have a job to do. And so, with that being said, like, you know, like when I watch a lot of singles podcasts and stuff like that, I tend to hear single people say like, um, you know, I ain't working for no man or I ain't working for no woman, like, you know what I'm saying? But when
That's
you
deep.
find a
Don't
person,
even get me started.
yeah, like when you find a person that match your energy, I think I said that to you one day.
Oh, we're gonna talk about
I
it.
had asked you to like make me a plate or something like that. He was like, I don't work for you. I was like, you're right, we work for each other. And it's like, that is true. You know what I'm saying? So, and we'll get into that more and how that plays a benefit into our relationship. But on another note, we appreciate you guys for tuning in. We're still getting the studio set up, so getting all the sound stuff and all that together. So this was kind of like a test run, but as always, I actually really enjoyed this conversation with you.
Me too, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Definitely like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, family. If you guys have any topics or any perspectives that you want to know about our relationship or how we handle day-to-day life, definitely comment, let us know, DM us. We're open for discussion. And until next time,
Go
be great.